Ladies and gentlemen, now welcome today to my breakdown of the top 10 Mutant Champions as of December 2020. Now, I believe Mutant is by far the best class at the moment. This year with Apocalypse and Professor X, and the buff to the Sabretooth synergy with Sasquatch, and just like all of the crazy mutants that have come out in the last 2-3 years, the class is so stacked. Plus we've had massive reworks to Colossus, Magneto, and Gambit as well, man. There is just so much firepower. I've written a list today of 10 characters, but honestly, man, there's probably about 15-20 mutant champions. They're going to get an honorable mention at the end as well, because the mutant class is just so damn overpowered. And I cannot believe, like, looking at this list, like, the amount of crazy characters that did not make the cut for the top 10. It is just mad how powerful mutants are currently in Marvel Contest of Champions, and I think, the amount of power is just so much in comparison to all of the other classes. And it's just so ridiculous, man. So I love the mutant class, but this class is like, it's a mile ahead of the other 5 classes at the moment. So again, this is going to be a very tough, very competitive list, and I imagine very controversial in the comments section. But let's make a start. Now, at number 10, and this will give you a bit of an idea of where we're starting today, we've got Professor X. Again, an absolutely outstanding champion. This guy with a mutant power booster is just broken. He's so powerful because it allows you to infinitely spam special attacks, because once you get into his mind control, you basically like chain on special attacks at minus 70% of the cost of them. So yeah, huge discount there. But also if you're gaining power back from the power booster, man, again, you're pretty much like gaining back the power that you spent to use the special attacks. So it's just mad. It really is quite crazy. But check out the 6-star rank 3 gameplay if you want to see an example of that in Labyrinth of Legends. But also on top of that, he has immunity to reverse controls. None of his basic combo is contact, aside from his first medium, so this allows him to take a lot less damage from matchups like Electro and Korg, and also like fully play around them if you switch up your combo, and also can counter Morningstar as well if you do a slightly different combo there, and all sorts of like fun interactive damage back. He's a really fun falter mechanic, which causes the opponent to miss for 2 seconds and has a 20-second cooldown. So yeah, this is a really nice fail-safe mechanic for the character. If you do get hit, the opponent's going to falter and miss you, so again, very nice for not getting clapped. He does require like a few fights if you want to get him ramped up and see the much bigger damage off the special 3 and the much larger benefit on the synergies. But in all fairness, man, he's not a bad character to ramp up. He ramps up quite quickly, and he's so much fun to play as well. On top of that, again, you've got the mind control phase. So inflicting this on the opponent means that they can't use any special attacks, and you can just spam your special attacks, and it's just so crazy, man. It's a really good phase for just like clutching kills on the opponent, because again, you can just go in with like, even if you don't have a power booster, like 4 to 6 special attacks back to back if you do line it up well there as well. So yeah, he's just a fantastic champion, man. Very fun to play. It does take a little bit of getting used to in order to master him, but has some fantastic damage ramp up that, as long as you play well and refresh the prowess, can just keep on going up and up and up. There is, I believe, no like proper limit to how much prowess that you can get on Professor X, and most fights are dead by the time you reach like, you know, 10 to 20 prowess, but I think you can get up to like 99, 100 prowess. So yeah, he's got the potential to ramp up like so much if you're on the ball and playing very well. And again, on top of that, he's got some crazy synergies which affect all mutants and X-Men, but then also have additional perks for various characters, like Wolverine, 15% crit rating, but for all X-Men, you've got like more special attack damage, poison resistance. He can also increase the duration of prowess on all your characters. He can also provide like a Phoenix-style cheat death to every single mutant and X-Men character as well. So that can be really good. Additional power gain. You also have a mental barrier with a Magneto synergy as well. So again, there's just a crazy amount of synergies that affect every single mutant character in the game. So if you get him ramped up, man, these synergies become stupidly powerful. But yeah, he's just a really good character by himself, but also does bring a lot to the team as well. Now, at number 9, we've got a personal favourite of mine, Havok. Now, on paper, Havok might seem like he doesn't really have much going for him, but this character is so versatile, and he's amazing for all sorts of different matchups. I'd probably say he's one of the broadest champions in the game in terms of what he can deal with, and a lot of matchups that you might think he might not be very good for, like Iron Man Infinity War and also Darkhawk, he's amazing for. He's so good for those matchups. But what I love about Havok, man, is you can just play the character like very slowly, like spamming heavy attacks if you want. You've got massive damage off the special 3. Once you get your plasma charges on the opponent as well, there is so much damage over time, it's actually mental. He's passively gaining power, he's incinerate immune, he has massive energy resistance, any form of energy damage he takes about like minus 50% overall, and yeah, he's just absolutely amazing. Also, his medium attacks don't make contact with the opponent, so yeah, that's just so good for all sorts of nodes like Psychic Thorns, Korg, Electro. So looking at all the stuff Havok has, again, he doesn't have the biggest laundry list of abilities, but again, one thing that is so valuable is that feedback debuff on the opponent dealing plasma energy damage, because no opponent is fully immune to it, at least to the best of my knowledge. Some opponents can shrug it off, like, you know, Kingpin for example, but you can just keep on reapplying it, and there are so many opponents that have like multiple immunities that you can just nuke down with this, man. It's so much fun while you build up to like a massive special 3, and the special 3 is an absolute god nuke. There is so much damage if you've got what is it, 10 of the charges on you, 10 charges on your opponent, you've done 5 heavy attacks as well, like everything is just dying, man. He's really good for countering a lot of like resistance and damage mitigation as well. He was one of my top like thing killers in Alliance War for a very long time. So yeah, I've just always found Havok to be such a reliable MVP for all sorts of annoying matchups and scenarios, but it's one of those things, to really appreciate Havok, you need to either watch a few videos on him or play the character, but honestly, if you don't know anything about him, he's definitely worth looking into. Now, at the number 8 spot, we've got the king of reflecting fun interactive damage, Namor, and this character is absolutely crazy for any scenario where beating into the opponent, you take loads of damage. Electro, Korg, Terrax is absolute MVP for, and there's a lot of very annoying nodes around Act 6 and endgame content that he just absolutely annihilates, because you ignore all of the damage you're taking and just dish it back out to the opponent. So Namor, as a character, is quite simple, like once you understand how to play him, and I think one of the cons of Namor is he does kind of lack general utility, and also does take a little while to get into, but once you get that special 3 off and then go into Imperious Rex and get another one off, the damage is absolutely mental. He's got some crazy burst. He's got a little bit of regeneration as well to kind of keep him afloat, because he regenerates 3% of his missing health on every single special attack. There's also stuns on the special 2, bleeds on the special 1, and he does have a lot more bleeds than he used to after the changes to this character. So yeah, in the right scenario where you just want to like fling all sorts of like crazy damage that you're taking back on the opponent, Namor can be an absolute MVP. Now, at the number 7 spot, we've got Big Daddy Apocalypse, and I think you could definitely make some arguments that he deserves a higher placement, because this guy is crazy, man. He's a really solid utility character with some really good damage ramp up once you get into the fight, but also the synergies and the pre-fight ability are just broken, man. He makes so many mutant characters just even more crazy. Promotes Cable to God tier, man. The Cable synergy is so good. Storm OG version makes her like the highest shock damage output character in the game. Storm Pyramid X turns her into like a mega truck, man. That synergy is so good. Psylocke gives her even more damage output on top of her really fantastic power control. Gambit makes him like a massive tank, giving him what is it, pretty much 100% perfect block the majority of the time. So yeah, that's such a powerful synergy, and also at the 5 and 6 star versions buffs up Archangel even more as well. So Apocalypse, the synergies are mad, but on the base of this guy, he's got adaptation that allows him to go fully immune to both bleed and incinerate. You can also stun through the block of your opponent, and when striking into the opponent, you become stun immune as well. He also has a opponent evadability accuracy reduction, So basically, every time the opponent evades, he gains a plus 10% chance to bypass that evade. So after 10 evades during like an entire quest, then he completely ignores evade. Again, this isn't his like best piece of utility, but it is something that does help out in longer scenarios. Opponents also suffer minus 100% purify ability accuracy reduction. So when he does apply debuffs to characters like Agent Venom and Kingpin, those debuffs stick, and that's a really good thing because this character is very reliant on applying a lot of debuffs. You've also got Bleed Off the Heavy that also refreshes all of his debuffs. Off the special one, you have a weakness and also a poison. On the special 2, you've got an ability accuracy reduction and also degeneration as well, and you can double the effect of all of these debuffs using the special 3, so you can actually get a 70% ability accuracy reduction, meaning that on top of, I believe it's the Pacify Mastery, hitting into a stunned opponent with Apocalypse is minus 100% ability accuracy, so full reduction there. But again, you do need to do like special 1, special 2, special 3 in order to get that. But when he can ramp up, the damage is really good, the utility is great, man. You're dealing like massive burst on all of your special attacks as well. So yeah, Apocalypse, just an absolutely fantastic character that kind of comes with the ability to make one slightly outdated mutant or one really good mutant like even crazier, and also make Cable like an absolute banger of a champion as well. So Apocalypse, maybe like, you know, the more I talk about this champion, the more I feel like number 7 might be a little bit too low. But again, the top 6 are crazy champions as well. So Apocalypse, you know, I need to get my hands on that 5 or 6 star version because I feel like he you know, might be a little bit too low on this list. I just love him so much. He's such an amazing character, and I think he's hard to value on a list like this because the character himself, like, he's pretty good, but he's not like broken. However, like, everything he brings to the table with the synergies, man, it's just mind blowing. It's just crazy good. So yeah, we'll leave him there for now. But again, you know, subject to evaluation in the future. Now, next up, at number 6, we've got Domino with a full flaming Trinity, man. This character is insane. She has carried so many players through the Labyrinth of Legends, loads of stuff in Variant 2, really good for a lot of stuff in Variant 1 as well. Act 6, like the first half of it, man, she's just a friggin' cheat code for. The heavy attacks are so overpowered. I remember, like, as soon as 6.1 came out, using her for like 90% of it, and there's so much utility, having a crazy amount of damage just in those heavy attacks, because you're giving your opponent pretty much no power. Plus, on top of that, she does have a 15% base ability accuracy reduction, and if the opponent is unlucky, this goes up to 50%, meaning if you stun the opponent on top of it and take advantage of, I believe it's the Pacify Mastery, that's minus 80% ability accuracy reduction while the opponent is stunned. And again, if you got the full Trinity, that is like pretty much all of the time, so you can get through some very annoying magic fights there. The damage output is just ridiculous in short bursty fights with the Flaming Trinity, and in longer fights as well. If you get the special 3 crit bleed, the damage is insane, man. That special 3 bleed hits so hard, and if you do have the Apocalypse Horseman Infusion on this character, again, it not only increases the special attack damage quite substantially, but also gives her more ability accuracy as well, which increases the chance for her to proc everything. So yeah, infused with like Apocalypse, man, she's even more crazy. But even without that and just the Flaming Trinity, man, she's really good. So yeah, I still feel like Domino is so valuable for progressing players and does so much in some of the variant content, loads of the monthly events and side events that come up, and a solid amount of work throughout various parts in Act 6 as well. So yeah, I think she's worthy of being number 6 on this list. Now, at number 5, I've had this saying for years: if it bleeds and you can poison it, Archangel is probably one of the best options, and to this day, that still holds true, man. Archangel is crazy in any scenario where you can just rinse the opponent with neurotoxins, especially with the Apocalypse synergy now, man. Just takes him to a whole new level, and this guy is now available as a 6-star champion. So yeah, there's just so much damage and a very strong, very rapid ability accuracy reduction that negates regeneration and also negates pretty much any ability that would trigger on the opponent, such as Magic's Limbo, for example, Electro's damage back. There are just so many nodes and scenarios where neurotoxins you know, completely shut down there. And also his ability accuracy cannot be decreased as well, which is very, very valuable in a lot of nodes and scenarios. So yeah, Archangel is just a beast, man. You just spam those heavy attacks, you win the game, GG, but he's still an absolute monster when it comes to damage output. Now, next up, at number 4, we've got a personal favorite character of mine, and him and Archangel have the similarity of you can put both of these characters into any team, they slot in, they don't need synergies, and they provide such value if the matchups are there for the characters. But Sunspot overall is so versatile. I've constantly been using this guy in Alliance Quest Alliance War ever since I've pulled him. I've got the 6-star rank 3, I've got the 5-star rank 5 as well, and I love them. But even for like newer players as well, like if you get Sunspot early on, like Brian Grant's initial free-to-play challenge, Sunspot was just punching up so much, man, absolutely destroying everything, because if you're playing really well with this dude, there's just crazy damage ramp up. Plus as well, if you can nail every single parry, you are taking 0 block damage, and that is so useful when punching up in content, taking on like these massive attack pulls, because so many characters take like a massive chunk whenever you parry. Plus on top of that, Sunspot has incinerate immunity, he's got loads of debuffs as well, and you can also play this character in a way that he just generates massive amounts of power gain, which allow you to give your opponent very little power. Sunspot is one of those characters that, again, very much like Havok, seems quite simple, and it's not until you've played the character in various forms of content that you start to understand, like, wow, he really can get through so many different matchups, and is really good for playing around all sorts of annoying nodes. So yeah, he's just so valuable. Lots of debuffs, lots of damage output, perfect blocks, like massive power gain, not really giving your opponent any power, and yeah, he's just been an MVP for so long in Alliance Quest as well. So yeah, I love Sunspot, man. I think he's very worthy of number 4 spot on this list. So now we've arrived at the top 3 champions, and number 3 has to be the king of suicide masteries, a Mega Red. This character was made for the suicide masteries because he turns all of the negatives just into positives and massively boosts his damage output and performance. This character's degeneration damage is crazy. You do ideally need him awakened and fairly high sig and the suicide masteries to get the most out of him, but it is so worth it if you ever do want to make that investment. Playing this guy 6-star rank 3 on the CCP beta, and seeing over the years stuff that skilled players such as Brian Grant have done with this champion has just blown me away. I think there are so many clever ways to play a Mega Red based on the fact that his primary source is degeneration damage. Again, not many characters are immune or can deal with that, so you can play all sorts of matches in very weird and interesting ways, kind of standing next to the opponent, using heavy attacks, playing a fair bit slower to manage certain nodes and scenarios. But also, like, I've seen people play this guy kind of like Quake in the corner, just dexing back and watching the death aura kill the opponent, and that's very satisfying to watch there. So yeah, Mega Red's just a beast, because you can very much switch up his play style to counter all sorts of very annoying nodes and scenarios, and I'm constantly inspired from what I see from top level of Mega Red players, man. They do some really cool stuff. This guy has something that's even better than full bleed immunity, which is 90% bleed damage reduction all of the time, but it also triggers his death field as well, which allows your degeneration damage to go crazy. He's also fully immune to poison. The tentacle hits reduce 100% of the damage inflicted by enemy abilities that deal instant passive damage as well. So like Electro's damage back, Korg's rock shield, he's got a solution for that. But yeah, he's just an absolutely phenomenal character. Also has massive healing off his special 3 as well, if you do want to siphon the spores back and just get like a massive burst of health and also power gain as well. So yeah, there's just a lot of interesting and skilled stuff that you can do with a Mega Red once you get a solid mastery over this character. But again, he does need like a lot of stuff and a lot of investment to really shine. But when you get all that stuff, man, he is so incredibly good. Now, at the number 2 spot, it's got to be Magneto. The revamp on this guy was one of the craziest we've ever seen in the history of the game. He went from worthless to, what is this character, man? He's just so overpowered. So, Magneto is crazy in, like, any normal matchup where you can bleed the opponent. But if the opponent has a metal tag, man, it's just game over. He crumples, like, almost every single robot in the game in a single special 3. And what I love love about Magneto is he's a mutant champion that easily counters a lot of the matchups where mutants like really struggle on, generally speaking. So he's kind of like the perfect addition and solution for a 4-mutant team. He's just so incredibly good for all of these really annoying bosses and fights that we've had to deal with the last couple of years. But now Magneto's come along. It's just like one special 3 and it's friggin' game over, man. Like that 6.4 Darkhawk, he just absolutely destroys. He's got so much great utility as well. Takes minus 90% damage from both bleed and shock debuffs. When the opponent is metal, they have minus 70% ability accuracy, minus 105% regeneration rate as well. Also against metal opponents, he gets plus 50% perfect block chance, so you're pretty much taking what is it, close to no block damage there, additional attack rating, and also his attacks cannot be auto-blocked or miss. So it completely bypasses so many really annoying mechanics on fights like Iron Man Infinity War, Darkhawk, like all of these really annoying tech and metal characters, and he ignores class disadvantage as well. So yeah, you just got to charge up like loads of heavy attacks, and there is the unstoppable mechanic that once you get familiar with him, even in stun immune matchups, if you can play very well, you can still use this character, you can still be great, viable. There is so much damage off the special 2 if it crits, and again the special 3 really is where the source is at, man. Like if the opponent can bleed, there's a massive bleed. If they can't bleed, then you get all these armor breaks which just like crumple up robot characters in a single SB3. I remember for the what is it, the Cosmic Ghost Rider Cavalier boss, that boss was really annoying to deal with until I used Magneto, and then it was like every single fight, quickly get to a special 3, just one-shot it, like GG, easy game. So yeah, Magneto, honestly, man, I think he lives up to the hype. He does take like a little bit of getting used to, but there are so many metal characters in this game. Again, about a third of the champions in this game, and there's about 200 characters, so it's between like 60, 70 do have hashtag metal, and he's just a crazy counter for so many of them. So yeah, I think he's very deserving of the number 2 spot. Then finally, at the number 1 spot, it's gotta be Colossus. I feel like I was sleeping on Colossus personally for such a long time, but this year I've really had my eyes open to the potential of this character. I feel like he's done so much for so many people when it comes to Act 6 100%. This man has been killing it in the Labyrinth of Legends. He's been really good for a lot of players that don't have the Horseman, that want to run this guy in the Abyss of Legends as well, because like he starts off hitting really hard, but once you get into fights with the Omega Red and Emma Frost synergy as well, there is just so much additional damage output and lots of power gain. Just keep on chaining on the special 2s, and if you chuck on a mutant power booster as well, again it's just GG, man. There's just massive damage back to back, and he also scales up so well with the Apocalypse Horseman synergy as well, man, so that is a massive benefit to him. He's also mega tanky, so if you do mess up and do make some mistakes, yeah, you're not going to get clapped by stuff. Colossus is also immune to Bleed, Incinerate, Cold Snap, and Frostbite effects, and if he's not fighting a tech champion, he's also immune to Armor Break and Armor Shatter debuffs as well. But yeah, it really is like the Emma Frost and Omega Red synergies that take this guy to a crazy dominant level where he's just powering through all sorts of endgame content. If this guy even has a little bit of ability accuracy reduction as well, it doubles his combat power rate for the duration of his attack. So against Domino Man, there's massive power gain there. And yeah, you get armor up very quickly on your well-timed blocks, and also via the awakened ability whenever you trigger one of his immunities as well. But the way that you play Colossus is ideally you want to parry and then just go for heavy attacks and just kind of rinse and repeat that, because whenever you consume the stun of the parry, you get like an additional fury which gives you like mega damage on that, I think based off your armor rating there. So again, the more you ramp him up, the harder he hits, and the damage, it just lives up to the hype, man. It's so incredibly good. And while Colossus, again, in comparison to certain other characters that we've covered today, might seem a little bit more simple on paper, the way that I've seen this guy used in the last year and a bit has just blown me away, man. I think he's been such an MVP for so many rosters, so many events. He's been really good for a lot of the Uncollected and Cavalier events this year, because you can just get opponents down so quickly, and also, again, if you can stun them, you're giving them, like, very little power as well, but he's just such a tank of a champion that you can deal with and power through a lot of different scenarios, and also, if you do activate the special 3 as well, man, then the opponent pretty much, like, can't crit you, so yeah, even if you do mess up, you are taking, like, no damage. He is so fun for, like, auto-fighting Winter Soldier. I think he's probably one of the most, like, reliable auto-farming potion champions there, but honestly, I think Colossus does have so much value for progressing players, and is such a good addition to every single player's endgame roster. The top 10 mutant list has been so hard to put together, because all the characters are absolutely phenomenal, man. There are so many pros and cons that each one of them have, but all of them in the right scenario can just deliver the most crazy performance. So again, I've got nothing really bad to say about any of those 10, man. They're so good. But then we've got honorable mentions. So first up, we got Wolverine Weapon X, who I don't have, very strong bleed character. We also have Sabretooth for the Sasquatch synergy, man. There is so much damage output. Also with the Killmonger synergy, you can bypass all sorts of nodes like Masochism, for example, so that one is really strong. On top of that as well, we also have Iceman and Emma Frost, like solid immunities champions, got some really good damage, very solid evade counters, the both of them, so yeah, they're MVP for so many rosters out there as well. Wolverine with the Apocalypse Horseman synergy is crazy, man. There's like a beyond god tier level of damage output, a massive regeneration. Like, he's definitely kind of at the level of a lot of these champions with the Apocalypse Horseman infusion there. So yeah, Wolverine is you know, so impressive now that the 5-star version is available, and he's got the massive buff of the Apocalypse synergy. We also have Cable. Again, we touched on Cable when we were talking about Apocalypse and his synergies, but honestly, the degeneration spam that he gets off his heavy attack with that synergy is mad, and it's so valuable, because there are pretty much like no opponents in the game, or close to no opponents, that are immune to degeneration, I think, aside from robots when it comes to Cable. So yeah, that is crazy for all sorts of matchups and scenarios there. We also have the buffed up version of Gambit, who is, you know, fully immune to taking bleed damage, but still has the bleed, so he heals from willpower. This guy has massive damage off his special too, and with a mutant power booster, you can really get some crazy combos going on there. Not to mention as well, he takes minus 100% damage from like passive damage back effects, like Korg, Electro, and also Magic's Limbo as well if you do time it in the right interval. Old Man Logan, bit of a personal favorite of mine, you know, mainly sits on the bench at the moment now, but you know, I took him up to rank 5 because I enjoy playing around with him. The critical bleeds are really fun, nice regeneration there as well, lots of fury, so yeah, he can be you know, alright and useful in the right matchup and scenario, but again, I think he's a fair bit behind a lot of the, you know, beyond god tier crazy mutant characters. Storm Pyramid X is a character I definitely need to play around with a little bit more. Like, by herself is pretty good. I always found her to be like a little bit below Havok and Sunspot in terms of overall value. However, with the Apocalypse infusion, is really quite impressive. There is so much damage off the special too. It really brings her to a level where she's very similar to Havok and Sunspot, if not a little bit better in certain matchups in terms of her performance. So again, Storm Pyramid X, definitely one to keep an eye on there. Again, OG Storm is so good with the Apocalypse infusion, pretty much becomes the #1 shock damage output character in the game, as long as you can like spam heavy attacks to refresh your shock. Then we've got the white version of Magneto, and this guy has some really cool synergies and pre-fight ability to buff up like hero metal characters, and can also give, I believe it's hero metal characters, a passive stun, which is really nice for getting around all sorts of nodes and really annoying scenarios. We also have Wolverine X-23, some pretty good damage with the right synergies. Nightcrawler, really fun to play, bit outdated now, I would say. So, you know, certainly not the best champion, but he's alright, man. He's got some cool animations for sure. Goldpaw, a decent amount of damage, bit of regeneration there. We've also got Psylocke, really good power control mechanic that just completely denies the opponent, and with Apocalypse you can get a fair bit more damage out of her. Again, Rogue, really good power control in the right scenario matchup, and also has the ability to like steal buffs and apply them on herself, so that could be a really fun time. But yeah, Rogue is a little bit outdated, but hey, Sweeter and Frojo really like Rogue, man, so I can't be talking like too badly on her name. But again, she needs, I'd like to see like a really nice synergy kind of buffing her damage output and giving her a little bit more utility in the future. Then again, we touched on Emma Frost earlier, very similar to Iceman, super valuable champion. Bishop is fun for a bit of cheesing as well, man. But as you can see, the mutant class, man, is way too good. There's so many really valuable and OP characters. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts on the top 10 mutant champions of December 2020. And if you did enjoy today's video, please do smash that like button. That'd be greatly appreciated. Aside from that, thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic day.